Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Castlevania Season 2, Episode 3. So, yeah, we are here at another episode of Castlevania, and this has been a good season so far. We've had fun. We've learned more about Dracula's forces. We've seen his generals, and we've even seen a new general come into play with what's-her-face, whose name I cannot remember. Camilla or something like that, maybe? But she came in kind of randomly and started to basically take over. She started influencing Dracula's thoughts on things, started asking these tough questions that no one else was asking and stuff, and it's like really shaking things up. And I'm still thinking that she might be trying to usurp Dracula's forces and try to either get in his good graces and become his top general, or she's trying to just take over altogether. I don't know for sure. I cannot say anything with any amount of certainty, really, but that's definitely what it looks like to me. But we also have our heroes heading on their way to the Belmont family archives. We have Sypha, Alucard, and Trevor, and they're heading there to basically try and figure out everything they can in order to help in their fight against Dracula, because they're not ready yet, basically. It's the best lead they've got, but on the way there, on the road, they came across some demons. They managed to defeat them without too much trouble, but one of them managed to get almost back to Dracula's castle and was discovered by his forces. So, they did find out about what's going on. And Camilla, or whatever her name is, she seemed to get really upset when it was revealed that a Belmont was there. So I'm thinking she has some kind of history with the Belmonts. Don't know what, but definitely something there. And Dracula himself is almost apathetic these days. He just doesn't really care. He wants humanity destroyed, but otherwise he doesn't care. He doesn't care if it's a painful or painless death. He doesn't care if they suffer or not. He's just apathetic towards like all of that. He just wants them dead. He's kind of lost all motivation in anything really, which is interesting. I like that they're portraying Dracula this way. Ironically enough, they're portraying Dracula as very human. So that's interesting. I am definitely curious as to where they're going to take that. But, in the meantime, yeah, I really have been enjoying this, and we do need to get on to this third episode, because I do have to go to the bar tonight for D&D and stuff, and so I have little time. It's 3:09. I've already spent... I woke up late, and I spent too much time on some other things before getting started on reactions, so yeah. So we're just going to get started. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward... Oh, excuse me. Oh my. That almost came out on air. Everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the redirect. Or at the reaction. I don't even know. I'll see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so I looked it up in between the reaction and starting these afterthoughts, and the Morning Star is the highest possible upgrade for the vampire killer. So I was kind of right. I was right that it was the vampire killer, but it's like the highest possible upgrade to it. It's the greatest version of the vampire killer, in a way. Okay, so yeah, I was basically right. Just I didn't get the specifics of it correct. Okay, so there's two big things of note in this episode. And I'll start with the less interesting part first. Not that it's bad, it's just less interesting. So, our heroes, Sypha, Trevor, and Alucard, reach the Belmont family manor. And there they find the entrance to the archives underneath, which can only be opened using magic, which is pretty interesting. Sypha manages to open it, and they all go down, and Trevor and Sypha seem to be having a good time. Trevor finds the Morning Star, and Sypha's really excited by the prospect of all of this. However, Alucard, and rightfully so, is less than enthused. He's upset because it's basically, as he put, a museum to the extermination of his kind. And granted, he's only half vampire, but still, he has that connection to that side of his family still. So he does find that kind of disturbing, and again, rightfully so. But I do feel like he still knows it's for the greater good to defeat his father, so he's still on board. Their entire journey in this episode was very minor compared to the more interesting aspect of this one, though. Carmilla is straight up trying to usurp Dracula. So we found out part of Carmilla's backstory. She was turned by this vampire who ended up becoming this old, decrepit, wretched old man, basically. And as we know, vampires don't really age the same way as humans do. But it's like she couldn't stand living under and serving someone like that. So she killed him. And she vowed to never again serve someone like that, to never again be under the thumb of someone who was like that. So, when she eventually came to Dracula to serve him and everything, the basically Lord Master of the vampires, that's what she saw him as. A shell of his former self. An old, tired old man. And it's just, as she said, never again. So she is straight up. She is trying to usurp Dracula, and she's doing it smart. She's trying to breed, some discontent amongst Dracula's ranks. She's trying to make them feel, she's trying to, breed this, this feeling of unease, this feeling of dissatisfaction within them. She approaches, his name is Hector. She approaches Hector, she learns about him. We learn about Hector's backstory in this episode as well, by the way. At least part of it. We find out that he had these powers to resurrect the dead since he was a child, and that it really affected how people looked to him and stuff, of course. And we find out that Dracula was the one who actually recruited him, and that Dracula and him had spoken during Dracula's travels. So that's interesting as well. But she's trying to reach to him to try and get him to basically act against Dracula's wishes. Then we see in the later half of the episode, she goes for Godbrand this time. After Godbrand has already started to question Dracula, and he's even straight up gone to Dracula to question him, she approaches him and ends up kicking him down a flight of stairs to get his attention and stuff after he's just storming around in a pissed off mood and stuff. And she's basically saying, she basically straight up tells him that, yeah, we're going to take over. He's not right to be in charge anymore. And the reason I see this is I kind of see Carmilla, her viewpoint, as being that vampires are the dominant species, and that they need to be the dominant species. But she's seen Dracula's actions and his attitude and stuff as being very defeatist. As was said, he basically is trying to kill himself to be with his wife. He doesn't even care anymore. And it's like, I could completely believe that. I mentioned in my pre-thoughts that he seemed very apathetic, so it's definitely believable. The question is, how will that go? Godbrand said that he didn't think that any of them were strong enough to take Dracula in a one-on-one fight, though he has been seeming weaker, and it's like he hasn't been feeding and stuff. So I'm wondering if they're going to try to overthrow him and how that will end up turning out. Probably badly. I think Dracula is a lot stronger than any of them give him credit for. And I do not think that they will be able to usurp him. I don't. But it's really interesting that they're going this route, that they're having this kind of story. And I like how Carmilla's doing it. I like that she's being smart about it, and she's taking it from a tactician standpoint. Right when she first came in, you could tell that was her goal right away. When she saw Dracula there, she could tell what he was like pretty much right away. And that's why when she first came in, she asked those questions. She raised those doubts in the mind of the generals. She was starting right from the get-go. And that's actually pretty impressive. Because it shows that she knows how to handle this kind of thing. And I'm honestly really intrigued by this. This is really interesting. Honestly, I hate to say it, but I'm more interested in this right now than the storyline going on with our heroes. Now, if I had to make any kind of guess, I think that they'll try to usurp Dracula, but that he'll either see it coming, or he'll just be able to stop it and take them down. No issue. And then he's going to probably be reinvigorated in a way to really start to take things back and start to get aggressive again. And then with our heroes, I don't think they're meeting up with Dracula yet. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I think season 3 was already greenlit, so I think that maybe happens in season 3. But I don't think it's going to happen this season. I think that this is still building up. In fact, I think they're probably going to be just figuring out what to do this season. Just trying to research into what to do, using these archives to get all kinds of information and history and stuff. Maybe we'll learn more about other Belmonts. Maybe we'll learn about Simon and Richter, for all we know. I don't know if those stories came before Trevor or not, so I don't know if that'd even be possible. But it's a cool idea, learning about how other Belmonts handled the fight against the undead and stuff. Either way, right now it seems like Carmilla's main goal in her usurping? I guess just usurping. In her usurping of Dracula and his forces, her first goal is to get to the Belmont family manor, because she knows that they're headed there. We still don't know how she knows about the archives, but she does. So that's their main goal, and she's trying to get Hector to create an army to go there. And she's trying to basically do it without needing Dracula's permission, but Hector is more loyal, and he definitely wants Dracula's permission. I also like how we found out Hector is actually not as bad as some of the others. How he definitely doesn't want the humans to be treated poorly or to be just straight up murdered. He's like, oh yeah, we can use them as livestock, basically, but treat them humanely. Treat them mercifully. And it's definitely clear that that's... Honestly, it seems like what most of the vampires want. Godbrand, especially. But Dracula is more on this genocidal run at the moment. That's kind of his viewpoint. So it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of interesting dynamics going on in in Dracula's camp. So I like that. I really do. But yeah, so far this season's proving to be really interesting. Season 1 was more epic, but Season 2 is more investing, I would put it. It definitely has more of an it doesn't have as much of an exciting take. There is some action, but not as much. It's definitely more focused on the characters and the world building, which I am all for. I am all good with that. As I've said before, the most important things in any series are story and characters. Doesn't matter what kind of series it is, action, voice acting, animation, whatever else, none of that stuff is as important as story and characters. Story and characters always come first. And that's what they're focusing on this season. I mean, yes, Castlevania definitely has a very action-packed, macabre, and exceptional action kind of just general sub-style to it. I don't know, I probably worded that horribly stupidly. I just worded that horribly stupid. But you get what I mean. It's definitely very action-focused, but for a series like this, for as well as they're doing it, I think focusing on the story and the characters a little more, and putting aside all of the action and exciting stuff a little bit, is important and a good thing to do. So I'm fine with it. But yeah, either way, I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Since I've been making a note of it for pretty much every reaction this week, next week is Christmas week for those who celebrate it. My family does. Next Thursday will be 2 days after Christmas. I do not yet know if I will be recording Castlevania next Thursday. I likely will, but I can't promise anything. I would say expect it right now, but I will keep you updated. I'll probably do an update video the day after Christmas, just to let everybody know what's going on for the rest of the week. So, yeah, I'd say right now, expect something on Thursday. Thursday should hopefully be where I'm able to get back into things. But don't just automatically assume, because anything can happen. And I won't promise anything either, so. Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this week's episode of Castlevania. What did you think of the debut of the Morning Star? What did you think of the dissension forming in the ranks of Dracula's forces? What do you think of Carmilla? Like, seriously, Carmilla is fascinating to me. Tell me your thoughts on all of that and more in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh.